So imagine this. I'm walking through an airport getting ready to board a plane for the most exciting trip of my life. I mean, this is something that I've dreamed of my whole life. In fact, this is an image that day as I'm walking through the airport. Got the brown bomber jacket on, the cool Ray-Bans, and I'm getting ready to board this plane. And as I'm getting on the plane and getting ready to get into my seat, yeah, you laugh. I mean, there's a lot of advantages to being my size. Airplanes are definitely not one of them. In fact, I usually do this. I should probably do it again today. What's probably the biggest question that I get when I'm in public, you think, that people ask? How tall am I? So let's get that off the table right now. And Paul Epstein, this is for you. I am 3 foot and 45 inches tall. No math whizzes in here? Okay, so if you got a C in math, I'm 5 foot and 21 inches tall. If you adhere to the metric system, like my friend from Canada, I'm 2 meters, 6 centimeters. Or if you failed math, I'm 6'9". But as I'm getting into this seat, I'm very excited, but I'm also really nervous. I'm excited because I'm boarding this plane to fly over to Europe to play professional basketball. Imagine that, getting paid to do something that I love. I was really nervous because I was going to be 5,000 miles away from my family and friends in a country whose language I didn't even speak, and I really didn't know what to expect as far as basketball. Move forward from that moment, and I'm lying on a cold hardwood basketball floor. And as I laid on that basketball court, I remember the sounds of the fans being very loud to suddenly hush. And I remember people walking around me and whispering and saying some things. And as I laid on that basketball court, I knew at that moment, my life had changed. I knew it was going to change. We'll come back to that story later, but as a result of my book and TV show, I have the honor of sitting down with Hall of Fame, All-Star, world champion, former professional athletes. Now, whether you're a sports fan or not, did you know that 100% of professional athletes ultimately lose their job? Undeniable fact, at some point, all professional athletes are done. 25% of NFL players are broke within the first year out. Now, let's look at some simple math here. If you look at the 1,696 NFL players, the average salary, $1.9 million, that's $805 million gone. 78% of NFL players are broke within 2 years out. Again, simple math, $2.5 billion gone. NBA is not much better. 60% of NBA players are broke within 5 years out. $1.8 billion gone. And it's not just the money. 80% of professional athletes experience divorce. Again, if you look at the 3,567 current mainstream professional athletes, that means over 2,800 of them end in divorce. From job loss to disaster. But let's hear what some of the athletes have to say about this transition.
You know, I can remember the first time that I stepped on the field. It was at Pitt Stadium wearing a Steeler jersey. Having grown up in Wisconsin, being a Packer fan, now all of a sudden I was part of that whole group. Crowds were screaming, you got introduced, ran on the field. It was a feeling that I'll never forget all these years later.
Wow, like, suppose I get there one day.
Do you ever think about retiring?
An athlete could play any sport they wanted. Why football?
Football probably chose me.
100% of professional athletes ultimately lose their job. At what point did you know that that transition was going to happen for you, that you were going to be done with pro football?
Well, here I was at year number 15 at 38 years old and an expiring contract.
And we get the fourth down, and I'm looking at this ball go up, and I'm like, oh my gosh, my career ends like this.
Everybody says you should retire on top. You know, it's you're at the Super Bowl.
But the stakes were high.
But the transition was at the right point in my life.
The 90% pay cut that professional athletes take, how did you handle that? What was that like for you?
You're not a player anymore.
You know, people say, well, you'll know when it's over with. Yeah, no, I don't believe that, because we've been driven as athletes, you know, to believe you can do it, you know, but no one teaches us, even in society, how to retire, how to leave a job.
What advice might you have for anybody that's going through a transition or change in their life?
It all boils down to what feels good in your gut.
I tell guys this all the time. Put your plan together, and then work the plan. Don't work somebody else's plan, right? That's one thing about the league. I love the league, but the league is somebody else's brand, right? You have to create your own brand yourself, and your brand is whatever you feel like doing, whatever your heart is passionate about. Chase it.
Well, we know professional athletes are not the only one to deal with transition. All of us deal with change and transition all the time, personally, professionally, individually, organizationally. I've written multiple books and multiple articles about this topic of change. And one of the things I've learned, as many, is that there's 3 questions we have to first answer. Now, before I go any further, you're going to hear lots of great speakers over the next couple days. And one of the things that's important is as we understand this information, the information that Davin shared, the information that Doug shared, some of the others will be sharing as well, is how do we change? How do we adapt what we're learning into our program? Well, if we're going to change as an individual especially, there's 3 questions we have to answer. We have to answer these 3 questions in order to start this change process. The first thing is, why? Why are we changing? What is the purpose of our change? Why are we doing that? Let me tell you why this is so important. Change is hard. Change is difficult. We're leaving a comfort zone. You're leaving a place of familiarity. You're leaving a place that you want to grow, but it's like, I don't want to leave this comfort zone here. And the why is the glue that helps us to continue through that process. Because if we don't know why we're changing, if we don't know specifically why we're changing, it's going to be difficult, because that's the glue that's going to hold us together. Now, we're going through a 30,000 foot level. We're going to go through this quickly, but the why is very important to understand. Why are